The biggest concern that we must have as Kenyans is the valuation at which the government is proposing to exit 15% stake in Safaricom. Because they want to sell per share at 34 shillings. And if you look at the recent past, including last week, Safaricom share touched even 30, past 30 last week. But in the last 5 years, and especially in 2021, Safaricom share was above 45 shillings in August of 2021. And when you are valuing on how to buy or sell a company, you as the seller must get the best deal in terms of the price. But it looks like the people who are representing the people of Kenya in government, in this discussion and sale, they actually sided with the buyers. And they decided to sell Safaricom for a song. Because a company that was trading at 45 shillings per share in 2021, the government is unashamedly telling Kenyans that they want to sell the same company at 34 shillings today. Most of the companies listed in the NSC as we talk are selling, and most of them, including banks, are selling past the 2021 levels. But now we want to give a discount based on the 2021 valuation of a 25% discount to the current buyers. And possibly this should be investigated. Why? Even after so many companies have been recording even 200% increase, Safaricom share, even with the bullish market, has not matched many of the companies in terms of the rise in share price. Probably there was a deliberate suppression of the share. And all I want to say is that the government is underselling Safaricom, and it is to the detriment of all Kenyans. Secondly, the proposal, because I've been there and I have in some of these discussions before, and especially when Kenya was seeking to get optimal value for the stake. The best thing in terms of the sale of Safaricom was first of all to divide Safaricom into 3 companies. Before the sale, you have the telco as Safaricom, you have a tower company, and you have Safaricom Financial Services. Because once you do that divestiture, the sum of the 3 would by all means be bigger in terms of value than the whole that is called Safaricom. And therefore, the government just became quick because of next year's elections to undersell Kenyan assets, because they want they want Kenyans to see that something is being done in terms of development, but the cost is very high today and in the future. The other thing that is very funny about this transaction, and I pity the people in the government who represented the people of Kenya in this transaction and this deal. I've been talking about something called securitization, illegal debts. This deal of GOK sale of the stake of Safaricom also is riddled with the same illegal debts. Because beyond the consideration of 34 shillings per share, the government is doing something else that has never been done in the world. They are collecting dividends in advance. Basically, they are telling the sellers, the buyers, yes, pay us for our stake, but instead of negotiating a better price and value for Kenyans, they have already mortgaged the dividend that the National Treasury would have gotten in the next many years. 40 billion shillings out of the consideration is actually dividends collected in advance. In other words, securitizing dividends. It is important for Kenyans to know these things. And also, for Kenyans to know that the people we are sending to negotiate for us as Kenyans are either putting their self-interest first and therefore undercutting what we should get as value as Kenyans, or they are just plainly incompetent. On the same kind of sales and divestitures that have been happening, it is important for us as Kenyans to understand the difference, and the people in the National Treasury and government, to understand that there is a difference between privatizing a public organization or company an outright sale. Privatizing is when you give up even control for efficiency to percolate in the company. But the kind of thing we are seeing in Safaricom is not a privatization. It cannot pass as such. This is an outright sale because already Safaricom was already a private company. It's not a parastatal. And therefore it is just purely for revenue raising that it is happening. The problem is, even as revenue raising, Kenyans are not getting value for their money, and Kenyans are not getting the appropriate price and valuation for Safaricom, for GOK stake in Safaricom PLC. And my brothers and sisters here from the media, I want to request you, because whatever happens in Kenya now will affect all of us. It is important we zoom into all the transactions that are happening in Kenya of late. I saw the other day a Tanzanian company with a Kenyan unit called Kalahari Cement buying the stake in East African Portland Cement that belonged to NSSF, again taking it for a song. Why is this massive interference with NSSF? That a person who is not Kenyan can see value in East African Portland Cement that NSSF, that is investing workers' resources, cannot see in a local company. We must be vigilant. Otherwise, within a very short time, we are all going to regret as Kenyans, because we'll have nothing to hold on to. Everything will have been torn down in terms of sold for nothing, and you'll have no fallback position. And on the same, I have been saying, and I want to repeat, there is a new jargon in town called infrastructure fund. Infrastructure fund is only two things, and Kenyans should know that. One was sale of Safaricom, which is now Adawi. Number two is more borrowing. So anyone who needs to know what infrastructure fund is, just keep on watching the lips of everyone talking about it and match with the actions. It is either sale of government assets at a discount, definitely, or more borrowing. And these things are important. And I don't think there is something more important than the economy of Kenya to all of us. Look at it this way. Kenya has already taken a loan using fuel levy. The money you pay for fuel levy has already been collected in advance for the next 7 years, and they want to take another one that will take us for the next 10 years. Meaning, the tax you are going to pay for the next 7 years has been collected today and spent.